In this video, we're going to be going through store transfers for the on-premise enterprise version of Thunder POS. Store transfers are the act of moving quantity of items from one store to another. There are a couple of options that are kind of relevant for doing this, and we're just going to go through all of them really quickly here. So if we take a look here, you'll see that we have our virtual machine set up here. This is going to be our sending store. The receiving portion of this is very similar to sending, and that should be covered briefly here. But we are going to go ahead and actually add a third store to this chain so that we can do a multi-store send as well. So if we go to store transfers here, you can see here that we've got a previous one listed, but you can also edit existing ones or delete transfers. But the relevant things we're going to do right this minute, we are going to look at a new single store transfer, and you can also do a multi-store transfer. So I'm going to briefly touch on multi-store transfers, but we're actually going to do a single store one. Multi-transfers allow you to send from one store to multiple other stores at the same time. Once you actually complete them within Corp Client, they're effectively individual transfers, and you'll have to acknowledge them at the store level if you choose to do that as such. But it does make it much quicker to send out. Let's say you have a bunch of stock at one store and you want to send out a couple of items to each of your other stores. It can be much quicker to do that through a multi-transfer than to set up individual transfers for each. But by and large, it mostly works very similarly to single store transfers, so we're just going to show a single store transfer here in this video. So when we do a single store transfer, we select the source store, which is going to be 1, which is the store we're on, and a destination store, which will be 2 for this. So then once we're on here, you'll notice a number of buttons here. So 2 that are immediately relevant. Add will bring up a search screen, which you can use to search for items, by title or anything. If you have the items handy or have the item IDs, you can just hit add by item number and just scan in an item. That's actually what we're going to do here. So we'll just say test. So we do have some quantity here of this item. We've got 7 in stock new and 6 in stock used. So for the moment, we'll just add 2 new that we're going to say are going to go here, just so we can see it on the line. So the delete button will delete the selected row. So if we hit that, it's going to remove that. If we re-add it here, just so we have something to work with, this time we'll do 3 in 1. Now we can also, you don't have to delete it to change the quantity. These fields that are in blue, you can click on and then just type in a new one. But you won't be able to transfer more than the available stock. So you've got to make sure that your sending store's stock information is correct. So if we try, for example, to go over 6 here and we say we want to transfer 7 used, it's going to tell us we can't transfer that many. And then you can just hit escape to undo that. Similarly, if we try to say that we're transferring 0 new and 0 used, it will not allow us to do that because you could just delete the item from the transfer if you were going to do that. So then find by item number, that will, right now we only have the one item on here. If we hit find by item number and scan the item, it will go to that, jump to that item, which can be easy for finding. If you've got, a couple hundred items on here, you may want to do that in order to more quickly find whatever you need to edit. Import will take a file from a batch scanner and just automatically add all the quantities from that onto your transfer, and it'll give you an error for any that can't be transferred, either because of stock not being available or because the item ID just isn't in your system. If you're wanting to do prefixes with that import file on the barcodes to recognize new and used, make sure you set that in your settings. Help will bring up a screen that will explain much of what I just said through here. It does also mention a couple of limitations on transfers. You can't transfer more than 5,000 different items per transfer. If you need to transfer more than that, you should do multiple transfers. That said, I don't believe anybody would normally, under any normal circumstances, be transferring more than 5,000 different items. Save here is just going to save the transfer for now so that you can close out and come back to it. It will not progress the transfer. In order to progress the transfer, in order to actually send it to the store to send out, you have to mark complete and save. And at that point, you will no longer be able to modify it through corporate. Um, but exactly what happens from there depends on whether or not you check automatically send/receive. If you do check that, then after you mark complete and save, the next time that the sending store does a sync, it will deduct quantities for everything you transferred, mark the transfer as having been sent, and then the next time after that, the receiving store server syncs, it will bring in the quantities and it will mark the store transfer as being completely done, as having been received. So that will happen without any cashier intervention or anything if you check this box. If you don't check this box, and we are not going to check this box for this one so that I can show you how to do this, then you do have to acknowledge the transfer within Thunder. And the sending store gets a chance to modify quantities in case they don't actually have what the system thought they had. Obviously, shrink happens. There are cases where customers will have stolen products off the shelves, and so the inventory you think you have is not, or that the system thinks you have, is not accurate. So the sending store, if you don't automatically send receive, will have the opportunity to modify it based on the reality on the ground. And both the sending store and the receiving store will have to send it. So for the moment, for this one, we are going to not do that. So if we mark complete and save, it's going to pop up here. So you'll see it's completed but not filled. At the store server level, we're just going to sync here. And then in Thunder POS, we're going to go to store transfers here. And we'll see under pending outgoing transfers, we have transfer number 2. So we can modify, so we can accept the transfer, which says we are just going to go ahead and send out these quantities. We can change quantity to change one of the quantities that's being sent. Show report will just launch a report that you can print as like a packing slip or whatever. And exit without accepting will do nothing for now, and it'll continue to remain available. So we're just going to go ahead and accept the transfer. And if we now go to, so number one, you'll see we can no longer, it's no longer listed as an outgoing transfer. But if we go to items now, we'll see that we have gone from 7 and 6. We transferred 3 new and 2 used, so we're now at 4 and 4. And if we look at the item history of this item, and we look at transfers, we can see that they were transferred out. You can also see that under reports, and then transferred quantities. You'll be able to see our store transferred quantities on this report. Which I had done an earlier transfer the same amounts. That's why it's there twice. So that's kind of the basics of a transfer. In order to receive it at the receiving store, that's in the same place. Just this video is not set up on that store, but very similar screen, except you cannot change the quantities. You can just accept it. So you do that once you've got it in hand, and it'll add the quantities. If you have any questions, just let us know, and we will be happy to help out with that. But otherwise, that's the basics of a store transfer.